Mom, I need to tell you something. My daughter Jessica was speaking on the phone in such a cold tone that I never imagined I was about to face the most painful truth of my life. That day, that very day, I had just gotten out of CEDARS-SINAI Medical Center in Los Angeles. My third chemotherapy session had finally ended, and my body was breaking from exhaustion. No one saw how my hair was falling out, how my hands were trembling, but most importantly, how mentally broken and worn down I was. Maybe they didn't want to see or know. What I needed most was my family, my children, my grandchildren. I was just waiting for a hug, just waiting for them to say, "Get well soon, Mom." But Jessica's next sentence, that sentence she said in that cold, irritated, calculated tone on the phone, shattered my heart. Even now, when I remember those words, my chest tightens. Honestly, Mom, the greatest gift you could give us would be your death. That way we could speed up the inheritance distribution. Plus, you'd be free from suffering, and we have plans. In that moment, my world collapsed. I was gripping the phone tightly, but it felt like I was floating off the ground. There was ringing in my ears. "Jessica, what are you saying?" I stammered. "Mom, please don't get emotional. Look, you know your illness is progressively getting worse. How much time did the doctors give you? 5 months? 6 months? Maybe a year? We have to move on with our lives. Michael's business went under. My husband Brad's company went bankrupt. We need that money, that house in Beverly Hills, your 401k accounts. Now. Otherwise, we're going to lose absolutely everything. 40 years. 40 years of sacrificing everything. Waking up at 5 in the morning to sew. Working night shifts cleaning at Walmart. Giving everything I had. Saving every cent. My daughter was viewing my death as a gift. I couldn't believe it. Those days came flooding back. How I went hungry to pay for Jessica's private school tuition. How I bought her new Nikes while my own shoes had holes. How I worked 3 jobs at once for her SAT prep courses in senior year. The university expenses at USC. Then her wedding at the Ritz-Carlton. Then the money I gave for buying a house in Santa Monica. Then the childcare expenses when her daughter Sophia was born. None of it had been enough. None of it had ever been enough for them. And now, they were making my last breath a bargaining chip. Does Michael feel the same way? I asked, my voice trembling. Does your brother think this too? Jessica's response was even more ruthless. Mom, Michael and I talked at Starbucks last night. He thinks the same thing. He even said he could pay off his own debts with the money going to your treatment. So think logically, Mom. You're going to die anyway. Why should this money go to hospitals and doctors? When I hung up the phone, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped it. The iPhone screen cracked when it hit the floor, just like my heart in that moment. But strangely, no tears came. I couldn't cry. Instead, something cold and hard began forming inside me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't disappointment anymore either. This was clarity. Crystal clarity. Determination. I spent the night without sleeping at all. In my house in Pasadena, sitting in bed, watching the ceiling and listening to the tick-tock of the clock. Thousands of memories passed through my mind. The day Jessica took her first steps in Griffith Park. The moment I proudly applauded at Michael's first basketball game at school. How I was left alone with a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy after my husband Robert died of a heart attack. No one had helped. Not my mother-in-law. Not my sister-in-law Margaret. Not even the relatives we called family at those Thanksgiving dinners. They had all turned and left. What will a widow do with 2 children, they had said. But I had done it. I had done everything. And now, these children I thought were my flesh and blood, were impatiently waiting for me to die so they could get my money. When morning came, my mind was crystal clear. I didn't even eat breakfast. I went straight to my lawyer's office in downtown LA. Richard Mitchell, Robert's old business partner, the man who had been handling my legal affairs for years, who always told me, "Margaret, you give too much to your children. Save something for yourself." When I walked into the office, he stood up the moment he saw my face. "Margaret, what happened? You look pale. Is something wrong?" he said with concern. I sat down, placed my hands on the desk, and said without hesitation, "Richard, I'm changing my will. Right now. Today." Richard was surprised. "But Margaret, we updated your will 2 years ago. Your entire estate was divided equally between your children. Is there a problem?" I told him everything. Jessica's phone conversation, Michael's approval, every word, every letter they said. As I spoke, my voice didn't tremble at all. No tears fell from my eyes. I was completely focused. I was just stating the facts. Emotions remained locked inside me. As Richard listened, his face changed, turned red. Then he angrily hit the desk. "What kind of children are these? What kind of people are they?" "Margaret, excuse me, but they're heartless," he said. "You're right," I said calmly. "That's why I'm changing my will. Nothing will go to them. Not a single cent." Richard looked into my eyes. "Are you sure? Is this your final decision? You won't regret it later, right? I mean, maybe you're deciding in a moment of anger." I smiled, and that phone conversation flashed before my eyes. It was perhaps the most bitter smile of my life. "Richard, I haven't made snap decisions for 40 years. I've made every decision carefully. And now, I'm making the right decision. I'm donating my entire estate to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the American Cancer Society, and the Senior Care Foundation. My house in Beverly Hills, my Tesla, all my bank accounts, my 401k, my stocks, everything." Richard took a deep breath. "All right, Margaret. If this is your decision, I'll prepare the documents. But will you tell your children anything?" "No," I said with determination. "I won't say anything. They're already waiting for me to die. Let them wait. But when they find out, they'll learn what it really means." The following week, the documents were ready. I signed them in front of a notary, sealed them in front of witnesses. Everything was legal and final. There was no going back now. But my real plan was different. I wasn't just going to cut off the inheritance. I was going to teach them a lesson. One they would never forget. One they would feel guilty about for the rest of their lives. 3 months later, exactly 1 week before Jessica's birthday, something unexpected happened. My phone rang. It was Michael. "Mom, how are you? We've missed you. We haven't talked in so long." His voice was filled with fake affection. "I'm fine, son," I said coldly. "What's up?" "Mom, we wanted to organize a family dinner this Saturday. You, me, Jessica, our spouses, the grandkids. Let's all get together. Plus, we can discuss your health situation. What do you say?" I laughed to myself. Family dinner. How predictable they were. They were probably going to try to convince me. Maybe bring up the will. Or worse, try to trick me with a fake show of love to get more money. I didn't want to go, but I stayed silent to execute my plan. "Okay, son," I said. "Saturday works. Where?" "At our place in Malibu, Mom. Jessica will cook. You just come." After hanging up, I immediately called Richard. "Richard, are you ready? I need you there on Saturday." There was a smile in Richard's voice. "Margaret, I'll be there with all the documents. They're going to be shocked." When Saturday came, I dressed carefully in my best clothes. I wore my finest Chanel dress, did my makeup, fix my hair, put on Dior perfume. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't see a sick woman. I saw a dignified, strong woman. When I arrived at Michael's villa in Malibu, he opened the door himself. "Mom, welcome," he said, wrapping me in a fake hug. Inside, Jessica had set the table. Food, candles, flowers, everything looked so carefully arranged. Organic chicken from Whole Foods, salad from Trader Joe's, special plates from Williams Sonoma. But I knew it was all for show. "Mom, sit, don't tire yourself," Jessica said in a sweet voice. My daughters-in-law, sons-in-law, my grandchildren Sophia and Ethan, everyone was there, and they were all looking at me with those fake smiles. Throughout dinner, my children and their spouses kept putting on a show of courtesy. "Mom, do you want anything? Mom, did you take your medicine? Mom, did you go to CEDARS-SINAI?" Every sentence was a lie. Every question was a mask. After dinner, as Michael brought the Starbucks lattes, he cleared his throat. "Mom, actually, there's something we need to talk to you about. Here it comes." "Yes, son, I'm listening," I said calmly. Jessica jumped in. "Mom, look, we're aware of your situation. Your illness is progressing, and we're just thinking, maybe instead of spending so much money on treatment, a little more. I don't know, relax. Stay at home. Plus you'd save money," meaning. I cut her off. "Meaning, what are you trying to say?" Jessica and Michael exchanged glances. Then Michael continued. "Mom, we need to talk about the inheritance. I mean, what's the status of your will? The house in Beverly Hills, the Tesla, the bank accounts, the 401k. Who's getting what? Because we have plans too. We have debts, you know." Right at that moment, the doorbell rang. Jessica got up irritably. "Who's that at this hour?" she muttered and opened the door. Richard stood there in his suit, with a leather briefcase in his hand. "Good evening. I'm attorney Richard Mitchell. I'm Margaret's lawyer. Margaret invited me. May I come in?" A deep silence fell over the living room. Everyone turned to me with shocked looks. I just smiled. "Come in, Richard." Perfect timing. Richard walked into the living room and placed his briefcase on the glass coffee table. "I know this is a family gathering. That's why I need to make an important announcement on Margaret's behalf." Michael leaned forward. "What announcement? Mom, what does this mean?" Richard looked at me. I nodded for approval. He took the documents out of his briefcase. "Margaret changed her will completely 3 months ago. And tonight, in front of all of you, she asked me to read the new will." The color drained from Jessica's face. "The will? Mom, what did you do?" Richard began reading aloud. "I, Margaret Elizabeth Thompson, in full mental and physical health, under no pressure whatsoever of my own free will, arrange my will as follows. My entire estate, my bank accounts, my 4-bedroom mansion in Beverly Hills 90210, my 2024 Tesla Model S, all my stocks, my 401k retirement account, and all other assets total approximately $3 million in value. I am leaving nothing from this entire estate to my children, Jessica Thompson Miller and Michael Thompson. My entire estate will be divided equally among St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the American Cancer Society, and the Senior Care Foundation." Michael slammed his fist on the table. "This can't be happening. Mom, are you insane? We're your child, my children." I shouted, raising my voice louder than I ever had in my life. "Children who see my death as a gift. Children who want my treatment money to go toward your debts. To you, I'm just money sitting in a bank account, a safe deposit box to be opened when I die." Jessica started crying. but I knew those were crocodile tears. Mom, please, I didn't mean it, like, enough. I screamed. Jessica, I remember every word you said on that phone. You said the greatest gift would be your death. Now you're putting on this crying act for me. Richard continued. Additionally, at Margaret's request, all care and treatment expenses for her while she's alive will be covered by this donated fund. She has no need to ask her children for anything. Michael jumped up. We're going to contest this. We'll take you to court. Go ahead, I said in a cold voice. I sign this document in full mental capacity, in front of a notary, in front of witnesses. According to California state law, I'm within my rights. No court can overturn this. Jessica collapsed to the floor. Mom, why? Why did you do this to us? I turned to her and looked into her eyes. Because, Jessica, you taught me the greatest lesson. Blood doesn't always make you family. Real family is built on love and respect. You neither loved nor respected me. You only loved my money. Now, that money will go to people who truly need it. To children with cancer at St. Jude, to patients who can't afford chemotherapy, to elderly people dying alone in nursing homes. They'll be my real family now. That evening, as I left the Malibu villa, I didn't even look back. Michael was shouting, Jessica was crying. Their spouses were in shock. But me, for the first time in years, I felt that deep peace inside me. In the Tesla with Richard beside me, he said, Margaret, you're incredibly brave. No, Richard, I said. I just finally understood my own worth. And for all of you out there, think twice before trusting even your closest ones until the very end. Before asking what's wrong with these people, think about your own children. Now I'm asking you, dear listeners, what city, what country are you listening to this story from? Will you share with me in the comments? Are you from New York, Chicago, maybe Houston, or from across the ocean? Is there someone in your life who experienced such betrayal, but ultimately achieved justice? And if you love these kinds of real-life stories, stories of strong women, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. By supporting the channel with super thanks, you can help me tell more stories. Help me amplify more voices. Because these stories aren't just my story. Maybe they're your story, maybe someone you know. So what did Jessica and Michael do after this? Did they really go to court? And how did I cope with my illness? In the upcoming videos, I'll tell you the continuation of this story. Justice is sometimes painful, but it's always necessary. See you in the next life story.